Welcome to Law Firms on the Map, the go-to digital marketing show for attorneys serious about their growth. I'm your host, Christoph Brenken, CEO of On the Map Marketing. Over the last 10 years, we have helped tons of attorneys grow their practices. And this podcast brings together the latest ideas and people who are making some waves in the legal marketing industry. And today, my guest is Curtis Boyd. Curtis been in the legal, not just legal, he's been in the local SEO space for a long time. And he's taken a very interesting niche, which is reviews. He specializes in identifying bad actors in the review space, and then he helps you battle them. But again, that's a quick intro on my side. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Well, I gave a little intro right now, but why don't you tell us how does one end up solely focusing their career on battling negative reviews?
Holy moly. Yeah, so my journey is a bit unconventional. I started as a nursing student in a hospital. I was in my last semester of nursing school, and I was precepting in the ER, and a doctor came down. He was a plastic surgeon doing a facial, reconstruction consult. He was in a terrible mood. And I was like, "Hey, doctor, can I help you now?" He's like, No. I'm in a terrible mood. I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Well, this fake review is hurting my private practice." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you think you have problems. I have tons of student debt. So you think your life's bad. My life is bad." And he put me in a bad mood. And then he's like, "Curtis, I've probably lost 150 grand worth of consultations this week." He's like, "I charge 10 to 15K per surgery, and I've lost a bunch because of this fake review. If you could get it removed, I'll pay off your student loans." I was like, "But doctor, I owe 32 grand. He's like, I will pay it." Anyway, I
Well,
was 24 years old at the time. I flew to San Francisco to the place where the fake review was, and I walked to the front door of this building, and I approached people as they walked in and out of it, and I said, "Excuse me, do you know how to remove a fake review?" And they're like, "What is going on? Are you homeless? Are you hungry? Are you crazy?" I'm like, "No, I'm from LA. I've got a doctor with the fake review. I can show you why it's fake, but I need you to show me like what to do because I've been trying for a while." Anyway, people knew how to help me. They just didn't want to. I could see it in their eyes. So I had hope. I stayed the next day. Finally, someone showed me, how to actually submit a takedown request that actually worked. So 48 hours later, I had a check for 32 grand and a new outlook on how I could serve other human beings rather than, as a nursing student.
so wait, but what was the building you were in front of?
It was a big review website for sure. It was on Market Street, I'll say that much. But that being said, that doctor was on the board of directors. So before I graduated nursing school, he showed me how to set up a business. He showed me, how to do accounting. And before I know it, I was managing the reputations of the entire physician network at that hospital, which is 20 minutes from where I live now. I learned how to manage illegitimate negative reviews. As I started growing my consultant practice, I took on other niches and other industries and what have you, and I realized that most businesses just wanted better reputations. I'll do anything I can to get a better reputation, right? They'd say, "Curtis, I need you to remove this negative review." I'd say, "Well, what? Why? It looks real." And they go, "Well, they're being unreasonable." I'm like, "Yes, but that's part of business. You get negative feedback sometimes, right?" I'm like, "Look, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to take down real reviews." "Okay, can you post some positives to bury it?" I'm like, "No, I'm not that guy either." And then I realized,
They're like, well, what can you help me with?
right? Well, I realized that there are some bad actors out there and there were no tools to protect consumers. So I went back to school again, learned how to code and write algorithms in various coding languages. And I came out with an MVP to detect fake positive reviews to protect consumers and do competitor analysis. I took my first product to the attorney general's office in Arizona. No appointment, no nothing. I saw that they just filed a lawsuit against a business for having fake positive reviews. And I saw in the complaint that the data that they collected was the data that we collect at scale. And I was like, "Wait a second, I could do that. Like, You don't have to spend hundreds of human hours. Like my software does this. Anyway, I walked through the bailiff's office, past the sheriff's, and I had this big manila folder. And I was like, yes, this is for the this is for the director of consumer protection. They're like, look, she doesn't just come out for walk-ins. And I'm like, look, I get that, but I saw you guys just filed this lawsuit, and I've got 50 more businesses here with the same type of data. I just want you to take a look. He looks at it. He's like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Sit down. I sit for 20 minutes. Director of the Consumer Protection Program comes out, says, Curtis, these reports look great. Thanks for coming. I know you've probably been trying to contact me, but I was like, anyway, she fast tracks me through government procurement. I get my first government contract, and I take that attorney general contract to the National Association of Attorneys General, and I get to talk in front of all of the attorneys general. And I got a couple more states within a couple weeks. And before you know it, now I'm working with regulators, the FTC, and a bunch of other regulator clients as the expert in this field on what a fake review looks like, what data is usable in court, what type of evidence is admissible in court when it comes to fake reviews. And yeah, here we are now.
While you're in this world and that all like is probably super common to you, on the other side of the general public between marketing and law firm operators, owners, like no one really like, I think there's like a general idea what are fake reviews, what are fake positive reviews. But why don't you, Curtis Boyd, who's like the expert on the topic, tell us what are one, negative reviews, and two, what are fake positive reviews, and how do you identify them?
Yeah, that sounds good. I classify a fake review as someone who's never engaged with your business or paid money for a product or service, right? So most reviews out there are fake positive reviews that businesses purchase for themselves, right? Because they want to inflate the ratings, they want to rank higher, they want higher star ratings, and there's a lot of benefits to what positive reviews can do for your business. So 90+% of fake reviews out there on the internet are all positive. Normally, like I said, they're paid for by these factories, these warehouses full of people creating fake accounts in Bangladesh and India and Vietnam and China. They are very real, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. What is a fake negative review? A fake negative review is basically an experience that didn't ever happen. A fake negative review can also be considered as a review that's really like false, right? Like factually false. Like you had a real customer come through and they really spat out lies, like actual lies, right? That review is also fake. It's not like a competitor is attacking you by them buying 1-star reviews for you. That's another type of fake 1-star review, which happens all the time. But yeah, there's different types of fake reviews, and we try to do a good job of explaining the differences between understanding who posted the review. So you have real people posting fake reviews, and you have fake profiles posting fake reviews, right? And then you have people who had absolutely no experience, and then people who actually did have an experience, but what they're writing isn't like actually true. It never actually happened, right? So we use technology to detect the two different profiles. Is this a real profile? Is this a fake profile? Is this content illegitimate, right? Was it written by ChatGPT? Was it written by an outsourced farm, or was it written by a real human who is really just trying to manipulate the business for some reason?
So let's double click on this. What does your technology does, and what are the things you guys are looking for? Let's say if we do primarily legal marketing, and we do some home services too, but obviously review is a huge part of this. And there are sometimes these GBP profiles, and you're just like, there's absolutely no way a personal injury firm has, I don't know, some obscene number like 1,400 reviews, and they're not like Morgan and Morgan. So how do you unpack this? How do we, what do we do with this?
We currently have about 170 plus metrics that we use to look for red flags, right? So all of these are different data points that we use to create a statistical analysis to make a prediction on whether the likeliness of this review is authentic or more likely illegitimate. we break them down by profile analysis and content analysis. So, profile analysis is trying to understand, is this profile a real person or basically a fictitious bot account, right? Basically, just an account created for the sole purpose of creating fake reviews. For that, we look at absolutely everything. We look at all the businesses they've ever reviewed. We look at the timestamps. Are they posting at 2 in the morning? Are they posting at, behind the scenes, there's in the source code, there's timestamps on when reviews are posted. You can't see it. It might say 2 weeks ago, right? But trust me, it's there. And we can see if people are regularly posting at 2 a.m. in the morning from Bangladesh. We look at the time differences. We look at the categories they're posting for. We look at everything. Everything we can look at, we do look at because we don't have access to the back end. Using all the data points we collect, we can make a really good prediction on whether this account's real or fake. And we also look to see if it's anonymous. When they hide their reviews and they say, this person is selected not to show their reviews, right? So if there's too many of those, big red flag.
Okay. So there's obviously the obvious ones. That's like, complete fake profile in Bangladesh. And you're like, they just reviewed also a hair salon in Australia. Like, okay, this is completely fake. Once that gets identified, that, those are the type of reviews that business has. What do you do with that? Do you like just publicly shame them?
Yeah, we're working on a directory where we will be publicly shaming them. We're waiting to hit a certain revenue point to afford the legal rebuttal when it comes to these, when publicly shaming companies. But that being said, we that is on our roadmap, and we're very close to hitting our goal. What do we do? Well, we can submit this data. What I like to tell people is identifying fake reviews is actually the easy part. It's not hard to go out there and find fake reviews. The hard part is taking action, getting action taken around this. 99% of our clients, when they pay for our services, they want to have their competitors' fake 5-star reviews removed from Google. They want to level the playing field, right? It's not that they want to necessarily hurt their competitors. They just don't want their competitors cheating anymore and taking away that market share that they've earned.
They're just, they're doing things that are not in the rule book. So,
It took us a while, but we had to figure out how to get Google to moderate based off of our data at scale, right? Just example, last month we brought on a big business, and they had, I don't know, 2,600 competitors. And out of those 2,600 competitors, we found 20,000 competitor reviews that were illegitimate, right? And so it falls on to us. How do we actually get those 20,000 fake reviews off? Well, we figured that out. We solved that about 8 or 9 months ago, when figuring out how to get Google to moderate at scale, right? So not only do administrators listen to our data, but our partners, like we've partnered with the Better Business Bureau. They'll take one of our reports and they will revoke accreditation. So you could lose your BBB accreditation if they see one of our reports that says you have fake reviews, which also can cause you to lose your LSA program. If you lose your BBB accreditation, you can report that to the LSA manager, who can boot them out of the LSA program.
Right. Let's kind of like peel these layers a little bit. I love the golden nuggets we're getting out of this. So removing negative reviews and reporting people who have a lot of fake positive reviews can, one, their better business accreditation could be removed. And then second, that could lead to them losing their LSA accounts. That's a great tip right there, Curtis. So how do we execute that? Obviously, we could work with your platform, but like, what are the steps that need to be taken to actually accomplish that?
You need to get evidence that those reviews are fake, right? It starts with data. You can't just make the accusation. You got to realize you're a little biased, right? Like, this is your competitor. Naturally, you're going to be a little bit biased. You need to remove that bias completely and get data that statistically says, hey, the chances of those reviews being real are basically zero, right? And document it really, really, really well. And then if you're doing this yourself, you got to figure out how to get Google to listen. All right. Or how to get the Better Business Bureau to listen, which has taken me years to get them to listen.
If someone works with you, do you do that process on their behalf?
Yes, we sure do. So we'll submit those reviews directly to Google. We'll submit the data directly to the Better Business Bureau. We'll even contact the state bar and have an investigation launched and have the state bar ethics department breathing down their neck. It is not a fun experience. It's not pleasant, right? You got to hire a law firm who knows how to defend you from the state bar.
Have you seen an attorney actually lose their license because of this?
No, not yet, but it's gotten close. It's gotten close. What we've come to realize is that the state bars, the state medical boards, and all of these agencies aren't necessarily consumer advocacy groups. They're more along the lines of protecting their individual licensees. So yeah, we don't expect them to remove accreditation or not accreditation, but remove their, do anything more than a slap on the wrist. We don't expect them to remove the, their license to practice, but maybe in the future, who knows? There might be a state who decides to come down really hard on this. I would look at New Jersey. I would look at Arizona. I would look at Texas and Florida. I'd imagine those will be the pioneers when it comes to finally saying enough is enough and you guys know better.
With Arizona having I don't know if you heard of it, but the ABS structures where a lot of private equity money now is pouring into law firms there. And that's, a lot more marketing tactics will be explored as well. And how likely it is for Google to actually review the data you submit and remove those fake positive reviews?
Oh, it's not a if, it's a when. So what we've found initially is that if we submitted reviews the normal way, they would essentially be, put into these wide sweeps, right? Where maybe once a quarter, you'd notice all of Google Maps impacted, right? And the businesses that were cheating lost a bunch of reviews. And this would happen every 3 to 4 months, right? You've probably seen this from your observations. But what we had to figure out was how to get results even, because our clients want results even faster than just waiting for every quarter. If they're paying a lot of money, they don't want to see the reviews come down faster. So we had to figure out how to get them to respond to our data within just a couple days. So that being said, yeah, normally it takes about a week before we start seeing those competitor 5-star reviews come down. And then the bleeding starts after a week, and the bleeding sometimes doesn't stop for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it is a thing to watch.
Quite mind-blowing. I had no idea your platform had such reach. So kudos to you for building that out. And I think it was much needed in the local SEO industry. So I'm excited to play around with it as well on both fronts, because, you inherit clients too. So I want to make sure my clients are, doing things to the fullest capacity by the book. But now let's talk about the gray area. Okay. So you said, and this is by Google's kind of guidelines, a person who can leave a positive review either came in experience with a company or paid money / service. Because if I was in a car accident, I'm not actually paying money. It's a different exchange. They're just being represented. How do we clear the fog on this? Because hey, I had experience with a law firm is kind of ambiguous statement. So I want to kind of uncover that. What is really experience? What can be done? What cannot be? What are some of the best review collection processes you've seen?
I mean, well, the experience starts at lead intake, right? So when your team starts on the phone and you're learning about what's going on with this person's life, at that point, legally, they can review you, right? If you just have a simple conversation with them on the phone, they can review you on Yelp, they can review you on Google, they can review you on multiple platforms just because of that simple phone call, right? With the intent to, maybe hire you. And at that point, you need to be on your A game and providing a 5-star experience. I get a little bit of PI and how it works and some other types of law practices. There's cherry picking going on. There's, I don't want this case, or I'm going to sell this case somewhere else. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, right? But at the end of the day, you got to figure out how your firm, no matter what happens to that person on the phone, that they get help, that they feel like they got help, that they feel like they were rolled out on the red carpet and somehow they magically found you, that you got to make them feel like that, even if you're not even going to take them. You got to spend extra time with them and invest, a little bit of extra money in that, in those calls, to make sure that they are not going to blast you because some other firm took them and said, "Hey, you should trash those guys because they suck." So, but you need to make them feel special. So, let's say you have someone that writes you a review and they're like, "Oh yeah, they didn't take my case and they're total a holes." There is gray area there, and it's not always cut and dry. Sometimes Google will agree that that review should be removed. At the end of the day, it's always up to Google. We have no say in this, right? So it can be very inconsistent. I will say that, because my personal opinion is that if you didn't spend money with a business, you have no business reviewing them. That's just me.
Right, of course, and you do run the transparency company, so I would think that's the point of view you're going to share. What about community events? That's becoming pretty big. Law firms and other companies, they participate in big like festivals, and they have their booth, and they're there to be part of the community, showcase their brand, obviously engaging with a lot of people, which in a way is experience with the law firm, or we'll just use law firm in this case. What's your take on that?
So a couple of days ago, someone reached out to me because of an event, right? And it's very similar to what you're talking about. This event niche wasn't personal injury law, though. It was canine dog training. And they had a dog doing tricks, like actually performing like tricks in front of a large crowd. And that trainer asked people to leave reviews for that dog who did tricks. They didn't hire that dog trainer. They didn't pay money for a product or a service. So for me, that falls in the gray area. If I get hired to identify illegitimate reviews, in my opinion, those are illegitimate because they didn't. No one was hired for a product or a service. And between you and me and everyone else listening, those reviews are so easy to remove. You're setting yourself up long term to just have someone come in and sweep those up because they're easy targets.
And why do you say they're easy targets?
Because there's no experience with oh, they gave me a few helpful tips at this event that I was at. You didn't hire them to represent you, right? So it's easier to have that review taken down.
Interesting. So when you prepare your reports, you profile all the people who have left the reviews, and then you kind of categorize them based on the issues within each of the reviews.
And the intent of the who is writing the review. So we break it down by employee reviews. If employees are leaving reviews, for their own company, if friends and family are leaving reviews, if random people, randoms, literally like people at these events who never worked with the firm, absolutely, they get thrown into that bucket.
It did read in the policy, the Google policy for reviews, that vendors who've been in experience with the business can leave a review. What's your take on that?
Define an experience, right? Define a consumer experience. And I think that's where we kind of just use plain language here. And it's my opinion that a consumer experience is when a consumer pays for a product or a service. That becomes a business experience. If they say, "I saw a car driving by, so I can leave a review for that car," it's not the same thing, right? So that's my personal opinion. And I'm lucky in that a lot of the times administrators will agree with me.
Wow. Okay, this has been such an insightful conversation. We are coming to an end, but I do want to kind of throw another question, more kind of future focused. AI, all this craziness has happened in 2024. You're looking at a lot of data. What do you think is going to be the evolution of Google Maps reviews? What are you anticipating in kind of near couple of years?
Yeah. Well, with our latest research we just published, when we examined 73 million reviews, we saw an 80% increase month over month with AI reviews, with review content written by AI. And so we're worried about the future when it comes to AI content. Reputation management platforms allowing AI to expand consumer reviews, right? Because it makes it harder to tell if it's genuine or not if it's written by AI. I see this problem, fake reviews, getting worse before it gets better. A lot of marketplaces where AIs are written aren't really incentivized to do much about fake reviews because of Section 230, where they are able to capitalize user generated content but not be liable for it. So I don't see this problem getting any better. I see it getting worse. What's going to make it get better is if our regulators, pick up on this new review law that was just passed just 2 or 3 months ago by the FTC. It's a new fake review law. Basically says they can fine you $50,000 per fake review. And a lot of firms can afford the $2 to $5 million fine that they might get, right? But it's the long-term reputational damage that maybe they're not thinking about when it's in the press, right? When all the local newspapers and all of your competitors are pointing at articles about how you just got, sued for fake reviews by the government, and they found you guilty, or you settled, right? So yeah, it's there's a lot of reputational damage if you do end up being at the tail end of that.
Well, Curtis, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your expertise and things you've done. This was extremely insightful. I really much enjoyed it. So thank you so much, and happy 2025 to you.
Yes, likewise, sir. Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you, Curtis.